Hello everyone, I'm the storyteller and I'm here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable and relax. The House That Waited, Derry, Maine. A town where the past lingers like the mist rolling off the Kenduskeag River. On a narrow cul-de-sac called Ashwood Lane stood a house no one stayed in for long. A house that waited. The Foster family moved in during the first week of September. Doug and Helen thought they'd gotten a great deal. 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, a big yard for the kids. All for way less than it should have cost. Their teenage son Liam grumbled about the lack of Wi-Fi, and their 8-year-old daughter Emily spent her first afternoon running from room to room, claiming the one with the best view of the woods out back. The first week was fine, quiet even, but by the second week, things began to change. It started small, the creaks and groans in the middle of the night, the kind you chalk up to an old house settling. Then Emily began talking to someone who wasn't there. Her name's Sadie, she told her parents one night at dinner. She lives in the woods. Doug and Helen exchanged a glance. Imaginary friends were normal, right? But the way Emily described Sadie made the hairs on their arms stand up. She's pale, like the moon, and her eyes are shiny black. She says she's waiting for her family to come back. By the 3rd week, the house was no longer subtle. Helen woke up one morning to find the kitchen walls covered in what looked like muddy handprints, though no one in the family had been outside. Liam swore he saw someone standing at the edge of the woods, watching the house. And Emily started sleeping in her closet, saying it was the only place Sadie wouldn't go. It all came to a head on the last Friday of September. Doug was at work, Liam was at a football game, and Helen was upstairs folding laundry. That's when she heard Emily scream. Helen bolted down the stairs, heart pounding. The back door was wide open, the screen door swinging in the breeze. Emily was gone. The police came, combing the woods with flashlights and dogs, but there was no trace of her. Doug was frantic. Helen was inconsolable, and Liam, he just stood in the corner, staring at the house like it was alive, because it was. The next morning, Liam biked into town and found himself at the library. He didn't know what he was looking for, but he knew he had to do something. That's where he met Harold Hal Perkins, a retired history teacher who spent more time in the archives than he did at home. "You look lost, kid," Hal said, peering over his reading glasses. "My sister's missing," Liam blurted out. "She disappeared last night, and I think it's the house." Hal's expression darkened. "Ashwood Lane?" Liam nodded. Hal leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled. "You're not the first. That house has a history. Goes back to the 1800s, when it wasn't a house at all, but a boarding school. It burned down in 1872. 40 children died, and the only survivor was a girl named Sadie Marrow." Liam's stomach turned. "Sadie." Legend says she went mad after the fire, Hal continued. Claimed the house spoke to her, that it wanted her to stay. When she died, they found her body in the woods behind the property. Said she was clutching a doll made of human hair. Jesus, Liam whispered. Hal tapped the table. If your sister's still in that house, we need to act fast. That place, it doesn't let go easily. That night, armed with flashlights, a crowbar, and Hal's extensive knowledge of local lore, the two crept back to the house. Doug and Helen were staying with friends, too broken to argue when Liam insisted he needed to do research. Inside, the house was different. The air felt thicker, heavier, and the temperature had dropped so much they could see their breath. Hal muttered under his breath, flipping through an old journal he'd brought along. Sadie's body was found near the foundation of the old school, he said. If she's tied to this house, that's where we'll find her. As they moved through the rooms, the house began to fight back. Doors slammed on their own. Shadows flickered in their peripheral vision, and the walls seemed to pulse, like they were breathing. Finally, they reached the basement. The smell hit them first, earthy and sour, like rotting leaves. In the center of the room was a trapdoor, the edges caked with dirt. This is it, Hal said, voice shaking. They pried it open, revealing a narrow tunnel that led into the woods. Crawling through, they emerged near an old overgrown well. And there, standing beside it, was Emily. Emily! Liam cried, running toward her. But as he got closer, he saw her eyes. They were black. She doesn't want to leave, Emily said, her voice layered with something older, deeper. The house needs her. No! Liam shouted. He grabbed her arm, yanking her away from the well. Hal began chanting something in Latin, throwing salt and holy water into the air. The ground trembled, and a scream ripped through the night. A sound that didn't come from Emily, but from the house itself. And then it was over. Emily didn't remember much after that night. She just said Sadie was gone, and the house was quiet. The Fosters moved out the next day, leaving Ashwood Lane behind for good. Hal called Liam a week later. It's over, he said, for now. But houses like that, they don't stay quiet forever. Liam stared at the woods behind their new home, the shadows deeper than they should have been. He had a feeling Hal was right. The end.